about yourself and your background.
Okay.
What do you do for work and things like that?
Okay, so currently I'm not employed. I have, my kids are in White House High School, one is out, and I have been involved in little g grassroots politics here in Smith County for the last 9 years in some way, shape, or form. Before that, I managed salons and spas for most of my career, other people's businesses, plus running my own. So I was in charge of budgeting, hiring, firing, inventory, customer service, and all the things that went with that, all the different personalities. So if their business did not succeed, we all failed. You know, unlike government, we didn't have taxpayer money girding us up. So that's what my background is, and I was in that industry for almost 20 years.
Okay, and I could see where then having that business mindset makes you then going to approach this kind of with a business mindset and wanting it to succeed like a business.
Exactly. Yes. And and then I'm married to my husband Don, who's a 5th generation Texan. I moved all over the country growing up, but lived here in Texas when I was younger. And then when I met my husband and we decided to settle down, we moved back to Texas, and I've been here for almost a little over 20 years now. So. Yes.
And then you said you have kids at White House. How does having a family rooted in the community make you want to see it prosper and make you want to be a commissioner?
Right. The whole reason I got into this race from the get-go was for the taxpayer. So I'm all about we the people and being involved in the community and having kids in the community, knowing the families that are in the community, and just being out talking to people since starting this race in July has pulled me in closer to knowing that what their concerns are, what their hesitations are, you know, moving in, the expense of living in White House or some of the areas is getting harder. So all of that ties into managing the budget for the county.
And then again, just why did you want to run for commissioner? What sparked the idea in your head to run for commissioner?
Okay, good question. So I started over a year ago attending Commissioner's Court just as a taxpayer. I sort of wanted to see the process. I had watched it online and I thought I'd show up in person. And that was about the time that the budget process had just begun. And from a taxpayer perspective, I was dismayed, we'll use that word, at the lack of transparency for the taxpayer. There were no numbers in the agenda packet. There was no real way of tracking what was going on, and so it was disturbing to see how that process went, and so that's what led me to want to get involved. My pure agenda in this is just from a taxpayer perspective.
So at Precinct 2, what do you think the main 3 issues are that they face, and what do you plan to do about them?
Okay, so I've had the pleasure of being able to go all throughout the precinct and since July, and so I've gone to city council meetings, planning meetings, ISD meetings, and then just knocking on doors and talking to people. So the roads are an issue. The timeline for those getting fixed. I know a lot of the city managers and the mayors have had issues with feeling like because they're out further than downtown, they're not getting the attention that they need, or the questions answered, or their roads taken care of in a timely manner. I've had that conversation multiple times. I would say animal control is another one. I'm very encouraged at what's going on at the shelter down here with Holly Jones and Colton. I think they're doing great things. I've had the pleasure of visiting with many of the rescues. I've been out to the SPCA. So I feel like we need community involvement in that. We need buy-in from the community. I don't think we're quite there yet. There are some people that believe that Smith County doesn't need to be in the animal control business, but we are. So we cannot ignore the animals. God gave us stewardship over them, and we need to make sure that that's taken care of. Talking to the rescues, I'm hoping that we're able to move more of the dogs up north. I know that SPCA is doing transport trucks up, more toward the northern part of the country, where they have much more strict spay and neutering laws. I'm hoping that is something that we can advance here as well. So, and then enforcing some of these dog breeders and fighting groups, and getting some teeth behind the laws for that, so that there's actual prosecution for what they're doing. And then the third thing would be just accessibility and keeping taxes low. Obviously, I'm not for raising taxes at all. I think we're taxed enough already. So that is a focus. And I think Smith County does not have a revenue problem. Smith County has a spending problem, and I saw that firsthand. And so I think there are things we can do to correct that. And accessibility to your commissioner is very important to me. So going to all those town halls, creating these relationships, I want people to know that their county commissioner is working for them, not the other way around. I'm not expecting people to come to me. If there's a problem or an issue, I want to be able to come to them.
It's a great idea. Yeah, I feel like people have a lot of questions about taxes or things like that, but then, even people my age, I wouldn't know who to ask.
Right.
So getting yourself out there at those meetings or at the school board meetings is a really great idea.
Yes, and I think too that's as I've knocked on all the doors, we've knocked on over 3,000 doors since July. That was one of the things I heard a lot was either I don't know what a county commissioner does, which is very concerning because they're spending your tax dollars in the county, or I don't know who my county commissioner is. And that's one I've heard over and over. So I'm hoping that through regular town halls and coffee meetups or just being out in the community, looking at their roads and continuing to attend the meetings that I've already set in place, that people will know that I'm accessible.
And then what road projects do you have planned or just kind of brainstorming right now, since that is a very prevalent issue in Troop?
Right. So
your whole precinct.
Yes, the whole precinct, 100%. I don't have specific numbers. 2159 is one of the county roads that I've gone out on. I've been through several county roads in Troop. I just went and attended and helped Commissioner Drury with her Road and Bridge Town Hall that she had at TXM last week. We had over 80 people there with their concerns of culverts and drainage, and that they had reached out and tried to get their roads fixed. And so they came to speak up on that, and I definitely want to follow up with that and continue to be able to meet up with taxpayers and see where their properties are and what's going on. I know that there's, from talking to several people, they feel like they've sort of been ignored in that arena, and I want to help facilitate that conversation and make sure that they feel like they have a voice.
So would you say your biggest approach regarding roads will be just like boots on the ground, going out there and seeing how the roads are and talking to the residents on those roads?
Absolutely, boots on the ground, 100%. And then also bringing that, facilitating with Frank Davis and the Road and Bridge team, and and making sure that they know that the constituents are concerned about this and that there's follow through. I think that that's been an issue with people feeling like they've made these calls or they've been on a waiting list and they're not hearing anything back. And so, Road and Bridge is busy. I understand it, that's a concern, that, there's been some understaffing in certain areas, but people need to be heard and they need to know that there's follow through. So even if you're going to tell them, hey, I'm not going to be able to get to your road for 12 months because we've got XYZ going on, I'm still checking back with you. And I'm not saying that from a county commissioner standpoint. I'm saying that from if I was somebody that was working in Road and Bridge. So obviously there's a lot of things going on with construction all throughout the county. Downtown here for sure, we've got a lot of construction going on, as you well know. And so, but we need to be getting back to the taxpayers because they're footing the bill for it and they need to know what's going on. So that transparency needs to be forefront.
Mm-hmm. Would you mind just talking about what you'll personally do to keep transparency at the forefront? Because I attend the commissioners' courts quite often, and I've heard some people, I think from the grassroots organization, actually come to talk about like certain discrepancies or things within the budget. So what will you do to prioritize transparency and that taxpayers know exactly what's going on?
Yes, grassroots has come in and talked about doing a forensic audit. I think there's some confusion with that because I think that there may be certain commissioners or people on the commissioners court that feel like what they're looking at is that there's been nefarious activity. There's discrepancies with numbers. There's about, from what I understand, there's been $7 million sort of missing, and they want to kind of get to the bottom of that. We're still working on phase 1 as we go into phase 2, and so phase 1 not being completed is a concern, so I think that we need to see what's going on with that, what has been done, what still needs to be done, where we are with those numbers. And as you know, are we doing okay?
Excuse me, guys. We're doing a TV interview. Would y'all mind just scooching out of the way? I don't want y'all in the background if you don't mind.
Excuse us. Thank you. Sorry, where was I?
Transparency with that, like discrepancy and things
right,
like that.
So there's been some discrepancies. So the road bond phase 1 and phase 2 came out to around $184 million million-ish dollars for those 2 phases. With taxes included, we're over about $140 million now. And it's been asked or said that we need another $35 million to complete it. So I think that as a taxpayer and as somebody who's concerned about the budget and that we're getting the best service for the best price, we need to have a forensic audit done. And I don't want to deal in conjecture. There's been numbers thrown out at what the cost would be, $500,000, $700,000, and I want to see hard numbers. So I would like to see the bidding process go out. I understand that is in the works right now, so that's good. We're getting somewhere. And then once that bidding process goes out, then we'll have actual numbers and we can take it back to the taxpayer and ask them, in real time, if they're willing to do that. But I think that we need the transparency, and I feel asking why has become unpopular, and we need to make it popular again. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then with the transparency and financial stuff.
No, you're fine, please. I'm so glad that you. This is so uncomfortable for me. I had to tell you because I'm very mission centered. So the me centered part of it is, I just want to get to work. Thank you.
I really liked your slogan of "Keep Smith County affordable for families." Would you mind just talking about what that means to you and how you'll implement that?
Yes, I think, like I said, we don't have a revenue problem, we have a spending problem. And I think that there are things that we need to look at through the budget process and see, are we overspending here? Do we have standard operating procedures over here in order to facilitate better spending in the county? And that makes it more affordable for families. If we aren't keeping checks and balances on our spending and that we're getting the best service for the best price in all of the departments, why are we adding 5, 10, or 15% per year to the budget process? If you're not doing what you're supposed to do as a department head, and we have phenomenal department heads in Smith County, so I'm not pointing the finger at anyone, but there are areas that we can do better, and having sat through that budget process, I saw firsthand. So I'm hoping that getting in there and helping facilitate some of that, being able to actually look at the numbers in real time, and then asking the questions, like your department's asking for 5, 10, or 15% more. How did you do with your budget this year? Did you go over budget? Did you put money aside that you didn't need to put aside? And that's something that can be put back into your budget or moved into another area where it could be utilized better.
And then how do you think your past career of managing businesses will help you put this all into place?
Good question. So if you've ever worked in the salon industry or been around the salon industry, there's a lot of different personalities that you have to navigate and on a daily basis, including clients and just your general staff that you have. So I think it's important that sorry, I'm going to stop for a second. I think it's important that the department heads know that they're seen, that they're heard, that they matter, that their staff matters. I think that's very important. I know that I've heard some concern about that, about feeling like they're heard or they were left out of the budget process or ignored in the budget process. So that's important to me. People matter to me, and that's my main focus. I'm not in this to be about me. I'm not in this to make a name for myself or have a stepping stone to another political career. I am in this to help we the people, and that means department heads, the staff, the Commissioner's Court in Smith County. I'm in there to facilitate, and that's the most important thing to me, that the taxpayer knows that they're heard and that we're doing the best service and the best practices.
Saying kind of your mission focus and things like that, you've mentioned that quite a bit. What does that mean to you, that you're mission focused and residents focused and not really you focused?
I'm a head down, get it done kind of person. I'm tenacious, and I like to know why and where and how. And so that's what I mean when I say I'm mission focused. I'm ready to get to work on day one. I've spent this last year really trying to understand the job, talk to the people in the different departments, talk to the people throughout the rural areas of the county that have felt othered. And so, and then just being right out in front of, the citizens of Smith County and Precinct 2. They have a voice, and I want to be their voice. So that's when I say mission, that's my mission. It's them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then is there any other issues that are on your mind besides road, animal control, or taxes and spending?
Yeah, infrastructure as a whole is important. We're spending a lot of money downtown, and I know that we need to push that out into other areas where they feel like their tax dollars are being utilized toward their area and not just the downtown corridor. I'm, very pro progress, but I think that we have areas that we need to focus on that we have not done as well as we could. And so pretty things are pretty, but infrastructure is important. And when our roads and bridges are full of potholes or we have culvert and drainage issues, I think we should be addressing that before we're doing all the pretty things. And so, and then I would say, definitely wanting to keep taxes low, so young families or seniors or singles feel like they can stay here. That's important. And then I would say, let's see, sorry. Thinking. So what do we say? Taxes, road and bridge, and infrastructure. Animal control, and then law enforcement. I would say that law enforcement is another one. I think it's important that our law enforcement has the equipment that they need. It's important for us to get a fleet manager. We haven't had a fleet manager for 6 years. So for the maintenance of the vehicles in the county, that's important as far as checks and balances go. And then a contract manager would be something that's important as well. We don't have that currently, and we need somebody to make sure that we are legally within our bounds when we're signing contracts so the county's not being sued. So those are some areas.
What's a fleet manager?
They would be over the vehicles in the county, so they would tell you what the mileage is on the vehicles, the maintenance on the vehicles, like, if the vehicles are going to have to be replaced, yes. And we have not had that for a while. So that's something that I think is important, And then I would also say with the healthcare, with the county healthcare and indigent healthcare, getting bids next time. We did not do a huge bidding process. We sort of went with who we had, and I would be more interested in getting bids so that we're getting the best price for the best service.
Okay.
Yes.
So I know you're the Grassroots America organization, correct?
Grassroots America, We the People. Mm-hmm.
Okay. They're endorsing you, correct?
Yes, correct.
Talk to me about that organization. What do they do and what does that mean to you?
Okay, well, phenomenal organization. They are very taxpayer and citizen focused. They hold people accountable, including elected officials, if they're not doing their job, correctly for the people, of the people, and by the people. They're a statewide organization led by Joanne Fleming, the indomitable Joanne Fleming, and so I am very honored. That was a long process. They interviewed me in September. I didn't do the forum until January, so they really do their homework. So to be able to get that endorsement and to do the interview with 3 cameras in the room and a platform and a lot of eyes was jumping through all of the things. So when that came through, I was very grateful and thankful for that.
And then any other endorsements that you want to share?
Yeah, so Constable Josh Joplin of Chapel Hill endorsed me. Josh has been a friend for several years, and he's just a servant leader, so that means a lot. He does not do a lot of endorsements. And I did tell him early on, if you don't endorse me and you want to stay neutral, I understand, I have so much respect for him, and his people love his citizens love him, his deputies love him, so that one was meant a lot to me. And then Commissioner Christina Drury also endorsed me, and so she's really the gold standard for commissioners. I know she takes a lot of incoming for the questions that she asks, but I know from being out at these town halls and all these different meetings, the citizens and the taxpayers are so appreciative of what she's doing because she's looking under the hood and wanting checks and balances in place so that they feel like their pocketbooks are being protected. And I hope to be the same.
And then I want to ask you, what sets you apart from your opponent, Austin Luce? This is really just, like, at the end of the day, a job interview, so why should people choose you for this job?
I would say that really what sets me apart is I've already put the work in, being out amongst the people and meeting them, knocking on all the doors. I've been going to Commissioner's Court for over a year to try and learn the ins and outs of it, talking to the department heads, meeting with law enforcement, meeting with local officials, meeting with the ISDs. So I hope that in the end people will ultimately see my heart and that I want to be transparent and I want to be servant leadership for them. I don't care if you remember my name other than at the ballot box. I just want you to know that your county commissioner is working for you, that I'm accessible and transparent, and that you know what's going on because we're spending your tax dollars.
And then my last question for you, What's the importance of voter turnout? If anyone's hesitant or doesn't think the primaries are important right now, what's the importance to you?
Well, the primaries are the most important, right? Because that's when you pick your horse in the race. And I think that people think their voice doesn't matter. If your voice is ever going to matter, it's in the primary. So the general, the Republican or the Democrat's already been picked. So this is your chance to get your pick, your draft pick, to be who's going to work the best for you, who shows up in front of you, who shows up at your front door, who best represents your values, who best represents where you want your county government to go. So that's the importance of the primary, and I hope that people would be very encouraged to show up.